All right, it says we're live. Is anybody here? I got my tea. Doing a little Lipton today. It's got some lavender. Gonna start feeling better soon. Let's see if anybody shows up. What is this today? It's Monday because we're live streaming. We live stream on Mondays. And hey, looks like some people are here. We got 2 thumbs up already, 4 thumbs up. Where's the humans at? If you guys want to go ahead and leave me some comments in the comment section, I'm taking your comments live here on the YouTubes for the better part of, I'll stick around for at least like 45 minutes. Does that sound good? Maybe we'll go longer. We'll see. Usually this is around 45 minutes, 50 minutes, but we'll see how much you've got to talk about. So I've got my cup of tea. It's lavender. Smells really good. No caffeine though. Hey, Robin. Hey, what's up? Oh, when will I learn? Chris, right? Is it Chris? Welcome. Hey, Smokin' James. You're sort of here. How are you sort of here, Smokin' James? Loving seeing all. It's so much fun to see you guys here because I also see you over on Instagram. And so it's so much fun to know, Sean. I'm sorry, Sean. It's so fun to see your work over on Instagram and then know you guys over here on YouTube. It's so exciting. So, welcome to the party. We've already got quite a full house going on. We'll wait a little bit longer because I know a lot of people are excited to come on to this live stream and share this afternoon, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Hello from Texas and Poland, Pennsylvania. I lived in Pennsylvania for a little while, South Central PA. What's up? I also lived in New York City for a couple years up on the Upper West Side. So if there's any NYC in the house, give it a shout out. Romania, Finland, all places that I want to go. So do you guys remember the live stream a couple weeks ago when I showed you my haul from the thrift store? Do you guys remember that? I got some really cool pieces. And one of my favorite pieces was only $10. And it was that copper pot. Oh, here, let's turn all these little guys off here. So that copper pot that I got, and it was only $10, but it was kind of beat up. Somebody in the live stream suggested I get some, what is it? I forget now what it is. I'll have to look it up. Barkeeper's Friend. Check it out. Look how beautiful this is now. It needs a little bit more work, but it was only $10. It looked like a piece of crap when I had it, when I bought it at the thrift store, but look how beautiful it turned out. So thank you to whoever it was who recommended Barkeeper's Friend. It totally worked. And it's midnight in India. Well, don't stay up too late, you guys. I don't want anybody having a rough day because you stayed up watching the live stream. This will all be posted afterwards. So if you miss anything, it'll be posted tomorrow or like in the next hour after this is up. But in the meantime, I also bought something fun. Instagram is a really bad influence in my life. It makes me buy things and give my money to people. So there's this Instagram account that I follow, Sparkle and Soul. Here, I'll leave it right here. I don't know this gal, but she's very, very talented. Sparkle and Soul. And I love her pottery, and unique pottery is so much fun for food photography. So I bought a piece and I want to see what you guys think of it. Look how pretty this is. Now it isn't matte. When I bought it, I thought it was matte. So just fair warning. But look at the texture on this, and it's just kind of wonky shaped. So I think this is going to be really, really fun. Like, can you just imagine like really pretty salad on there or some sort of like protein going on with a little risotto? Cause it's got a little bit of a lip on it. So super excited about this. So, all right. Well, hey, should we go ahead and jump in and start talking about TV? Because I think that's why a lot of you are here, right? If you want me to talk about TV, go ahead and let me know in the comments here. And I've got, of course, the things that I know we're going to talk about. Oh, looks like Ken made it. Ken, glad you're here. Susan, you're here. Everybody's here. It's so fun. So if there are particular questions you have, because of course, last Thursday's video was about how I do local TV segments and how I pack for those, how I do the food styling for those, and all the details of that. But of course, there are like more questions that I'm sure you guys have as far as like, well, if you want to get on TV, how do you do that? Do you get paid for it? All those sort of things. So I definitely want to go into that. But if you have other questions related to TV and whatnot, feel free to leave those in the comments here. And certainly the comments move very quickly for me and I get distracted because I'm talking. So if I miss anything, definitely feel free to shout it back out later or send me a message after the live stream. Happy to answer questions. But the question that I did get in the comments of the video from last Thursday was, Christina, I agree, that plate's going to be great for my recipes. So the question that I got from last Thursday's video a lot was, well, how do you even go about getting onto TV in the first place? Like, like wherever you live, Quite possibly. I don't know internationally, but I know at least in the US and probably Canada as well, there are a lot of there are a lot of local morning TV shows where, they have various entertainment segments, right? Like there's the crafting lady and there's the gardening guy and there's, somebody cooking something, which might be a local chef. And so yeah, Ken, we're getting into it right now. So as far as how I booked my very first one, it was about 3 years ago, and how it all came to be, and it's different for everybody. But I've been a food blogger, and I was, sharing recipes online, and I had connected with a local restaurant where I was going to do a cooking class. It was like a 50s diner cooking class, and we were going to do patty melts and old-fashioned milkshakes, and just like super easy, simple little cooking class that I was going to do at this restaurant. Well, I had some friends in the PR world. For those of you who don't know about PR, public relations, those are people who work specifically with brands and clients to get them exposure, whether that's in the media, on TV, or newspapers, magazines, online, what have you. But in my world as a blogger, I had made friends with some PR people, because PR people would send me press releases and say, hey, FYI, this restaurant is opening. Hey, FYI, this food thing is going on. If you want to cover it on social media, heads up. So they had kind of gotten to know me as a known quantity of somebody who liked cooking. And so I was doing these cooking classes, and I also started doing cooking demos at local food festivals. So again, the real trick that maybe you're already seeing here is that it's all about networking. Like if you are really into food and cooking and you want to do some of that on TV, it's all about networking and getting to know the right people. But as far as the actual getting on TV part, well, what happened was people had seen me doing demos at food festivals. They'd seen me doing these cooking classes. And so somebody who knew me, who did PR, said, hey, this TV show over here has an open segment. Are you available tomorrow? Or maybe it was like the day after tomorrow. It was a really quick turnaround. Can you go down and do a TV segment for them? And I was like, oh, crap. So scary. But I said, sure. And I think that's what it really takes, is you just kind of gotta, jump to the occasion, rise to the occasion. That's the same thing in photography. When you're kind of feeling nervous, feeling like you're not ready for something, but like you do have the skills for it, you just have to rise to the occasion. My first TV segment was definitely that. So that was a referral to then connect with the producer on that show, and they loved what I did. I had a lot of fun. Now, by no means was that segment perfect, and I can go back and watch that and go, oh, I said, like 20 times, or I said like 20 times. We've all got our crutch words when it comes to doing public speaking, but I did well enough, and I was respectful, and I got along with everybody there and had a fun time, had a positive attitude, cleaned up after myself, did all the things that I shared in the video with you guys, and got myself invited back. But I didn't get invited back for at least another 6 months. Like it was quite a bit of turnaround. But what I figured out was, okay, now I've got this TV segment that I've done, and it was recorded, and I was able to find a link online to it that then I could send to other TV stations where I didn't have a connection. But if you go to any, like if you of course know your local TV stations, right? Like Channel 5, Channel 15, Channel 10, whatever, Fox or ABC, and you can find the specific morning shows, like here in Phoenix, Good Morning Arizona, or Fox 10 in the morning. We've got our morning shows that if you go down to the bottom of their website, it'll have contact information. And a great idea then is to pitch whoever the producer is, send them your information. If you have a sample of you doing some sort of cooking somewhere, whether that's a live demo at a festival, doing a cooking class, just even cooking in your own kitchen, a YouTube video if you've got a YouTube channel, any sort of something that proves that you are good in front of the camera and that you could be a real asset to their morning programming, and then have a very specific pitch to them. Because producers who are coordinating TV shows are always trying to come up with ideas of like, okay, well, I've got to fill this number of spots for this day. And, it's good to have things that are thematic, things that are relevant to the season. So, like when it's around July timeframe, start sending out pitches about back to school, because the producers of the TV shows are all thinking, oh, okay, I got to get some back to school stuff. So if that is in your wheelhouse to do, and that's relevant to the kind of food that you're cooking and the kind of things you're doing, then being able to send them, over like, hey, here's an example of me doing a cooking demo. Here's who I am. Here's a little bit about me. Keep it short. But then say, I would love to do a segment sharing with your viewers about healthy after school snacks for kids, or whatever that relevant theme is. That's going to give a high likelihood then that they might have a spot to fill. They might have a vacancy. Granted, they've probably got go-to people that they usually go to, but every so often there's a spot that needs to get filled. And if you're at the right place at the right time, or you've pestered them enough, there's a chance that they might put you on. How do you find the right words? Yeah, Brittany wants to know this that I do on TV. I've done over 150 TV segments at this point that it really has become sort of like it's just something I do. I get much more nervous doing public speaking, things at church or getting up in front of people, doing live streams with you guys. But as far as the TV, fortunately, I've done it enough that it kind of feels like getting back in the saddle. So I don't, but that very first one, I was literally sick to my stomach. I did not sleep the night before. I was a hot freaking mess. I was so nervous, but I survived it and I actually had a lot of fun. And so that's why I continued to do it. So that was, I definitely, nerves they're a real thing, but you got to use the nerves to your positive advantage. And that is something, if you are concerned at all about, I haven't had a lot of experience maybe in front of people doing public speaking, that kind of thing, a really great resource and something that I actually did for the better part of 2 years, not way back in the day, but probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I did Toastmasters. So if you've never heard of Toastmasters, they are local organizations. I don't know if they're worldwide. I do know they're here in the US, but find your local Toastmasters chapter and get involved. It is a really wacky, wild, fun thing, but it's all about helping people improve their public speaking skills. And so that is something that I did, and I think it really, really helped. I think it helps me become a better communicator. And so if you haven't done Toastmasters and you are serious about doing public speaking, whether that's on YouTube, TV segments, speaking gigs, whatever those things are, I highly, highly recommend Toastmasters. Let's see so Rajul wants to know, what starter project would you suggest for someone who's been doing photography for a few years, but hasn't dabbled in food photography? A starter project for TV or just in general? If you're talking about photography in general, I think that if you're looking to get into food photography, an easy place to start is in restaurant food photography, because restaurants, there are a lot of restaurants around, probably wherever you live, and they have a demand, they have a need for photography and images, and whether that's for online, for social media, or their website, it's definitely something that a lot of restaurants need, and there are a lot of potential clients there. Now, I will say, restaurants don't make a ton of money. Even though it looks like this whole glamorous world, they're not necessarily the ones that have big, deep pockets, quite like food brands do, which is why I like to work more with food brands. But at the same time, they are wonderful people to work with. It's a great place to learn, especially if you're just starting out. And actually, if you've got questions about it, I've got my ebook. If you have not downloaded it, you can get it right here. There's that. So you can download my ebook, 4 Steps to Getting Your First Food Photography Gig, or Photography Gig. So it's geared toward food, and it walks you through all the things that I did to get started. So let's see. Snap Vegan wants to know, what direction is your natural light placed? Northeast, southwest facing window. So Snap Vegan, that is a great question. In my studio, very rarely ever shoot natural light, because my studio actually faces, it faces it faces north and it faces west. And the majority of my windows are all west. There are a ton of windows in here. I have blackout shades on all of them right now. And so pretty much everything you see on my Instagram account that's coming out of my studio is all artificial light. And some of that is going to be, a good bit of that is LED lighting, which is actually lighting me right now. And then a good bit of it now in the recent couple weeks has been speed lights. I bought some speed lights because a lot of people had questions about off-camera flash. And so I thought, this is an area of photography I need to explore more. So I went and got some. I've been really learning them, and I'm excited to share some tutorials coming up on that. I'm still, really digging in, and I want to make sure to have all the full details and answers for you before I start getting into that. But speed lights are a really great, affordable option for artificial light. And I love artificial light because it's so predictable. You know exactly what it's going to do. There's no surprises. There are no clouds that are going to screw with it. The direction doesn't change depending on the time of year. It's always the same. So there's a lot of great consistency there. All right, let's see. Veronica wants to know, how do you sharpen your videos for tasty style videos? So when it comes to sharpening videos, it is the same exact practice that I use in the sharpening your photography method for that video that I did a couple weeks, how to get sharp images. It's the same exact principles that I use in that I use for doing videos as well. And so it's just all about understanding, where are you setting your focus? How are you intentionally setting it? When I do tasty style videos, I do use manual focus, because the problem is you're doing those overhead, right? You've got your, oh, sorry, pit stains, hello. You've got your overhead camera going on above you. And so you just want to make sure, because what's happening is like the action is coming in and out from underneath the camera. Well, it might cause a jerky motion. If you've ever tried to shoot tasty style videos and it's like the focus is going in and out and in and out and in and out, that's because you've got all this movement going on in kind of a smaller sort of area of space. And so using manual focus is going to be really helpful in order to make sure that you've got clean focus. But everything that I know and more related to video is all thanks to the folks over at The Blog Village. So if you have not checked them out, you definitely should. theblogvillage.com. I went to one of their workshops about 2 years ago when they very first started. It was their very first workshop. I had the best time, flew to Madison, Wisconsin, spent 2 full days nonstop in a room with 6 other food bloggers, and we learned how to make tasty style videos, and they are by far the best educators as far as that's concerned. And so they have both versions for using Adobe Premiere as well as Final Cut Pro. So depending on which direction you want to go from an editing perspective, but they show you how to shoot it, they show you how to edit it. They are phenomenal. So definitely go check them out if you are really looking to dig into the world of video. All right, let's see. All right. Oh, Matt Wonderwall. Okay, great question. As far as, so we talked about how you get on TV. And again, just to kind of go back into that, the best way to do it is to network, connect with PR people, make it known that you do cooking demos and that sort of thing. And then be sure to start pitching the TV stations. Contact information should be on the TV show's website. So that's going to be a really great place to get started. But then once you start doing it, so the segment that you guys saw in the video on Thursday, I did not get paid to do. I was there on my own time. I purchased all the ingredients. That was all on me. Now, fortunately, the great part as a food blogger is that going on TV is a great way to get additional exposure and additional traffic to your website. So every time I go on TV, I see automatic traffic coming to my blog, which is a really helpful thing because I've monetized my blog with ads. And so that helps my business. Now, I don't do it all the time because that is rather time consuming and it does take up a certain amount of resources. But at the same time, it is really helpful for local exposure. Local media will see you. It's a really great thing also just to add legitimacy to what you're doing and a building block for going into other things. It's also a really great thing then too, if you're going to work with brands. So as again, a food blogger, as well as a food photographer, I work with a lot of food brands. And so being able to have a TV segment and show them, here's a time that I was on TV and, see, here's how I did it. And here's how professional it looks and yada, yada, yada. That's going to set you apart from other people who do food blogging and things like that. And so, sometimes, though, I definitely do get paid. It depends on the scenario. There have been situations where a food brand who I do photography for went on like a national cookbook tour. And when they came to Phoenix, they had 2 different TV segments and they needed somebody to do the food styling for them because the cookbook personality wasn't from here. They didn't have the access to a kitchen. They were just staying at a hotel. So I was in charge of doing all the food for that. And so the pricing kind of varies, but general day rate that I've seen for a lot of food stylists is anywhere. And again, this is very particular to, you're like, what's the price, Jody? Come on, just tell us the price. It's very particular to what city you're in. This is Phoenix, Arizona. This is not a big New York City, LA kind of market. So this is definitely a smaller market, but general run of the mill, anywhere between $600 to $1,000 day rate. And so when you're kind of calculating, well, how much time does it take in order to do a segment on TV? Well, it's a 3-minute segment, but as you guys saw in the video, that was about now for me, I've really got it down to, down pat, but for one recipe's worth, that's at least a half a day plus then the going on site and the setting up. So usually about a day's worth of time. So $600 to $800 just purely to do the styling. Now in situations where I work with certain brands like Vienna Beef, I've done segments for them. They will contract directly with the TV station. TV station might say, oh, well, if you need local talent, we've worked with Joni before, she'd be great. And then Vienna Beef hires me. And so then not only am I adding in that styling fee, but then additionally a talent fee, because not everybody can just show up and be on TV, right? I mean, you got to have some knowledge, the ability to be on camera. So there's additional fees with that. So anywhere, again, just depends on the brand, depends on how complicated the recipe is, depends on how time consuming, all these details. There's a lot that goes into it, but anywhere starting at the $750 mark all the way up to $2,000 for a TV segment. So just, again, depends on the situation. But I hope that helps. Does that help, Matt? All right, let's see what else we got. So Rupali wants to know, how do you keep veggies fresh during photography? Definitely get yourself some fresh veggies. Like if you saw in the video on Thursday, the mint, if you get mint that is in the little, packages and it's already been sitting for a day or two because it was harvested however long ago and it was snipped, it's going to be sad. So the best way to keep your veggies looking fresh is to make sure to buy fresh veggies. So that's going to the farmer's market is going to be a great place, as well as making sure not to overcook your veggies. I always err on the side whenever I'm cooking veggies for, video or photography, I always undercook them because they look better. All right, good. I'm glad that answers your question, Matt. Do you guys have any other questions related to the TV stuff? I think I covered a lot of it. All right, so there is a question as far as, and this is something that has come up a lot, and I'm actually going to do a video on it, is how do you eliminate lighting reflection shining on plates or dishes that can be annoying or distracting? And there are a lot of little things. A lot of people clear filter on front of my lens just to protect it. But I don't use any sort of polarizing filters, things like that. So I will go into that that's why I very frequently shoot on matte plates and matte surfaces, because then that eliminates it. But certainly when you're dealing with the glassware, then that's a whole other ball of wax. So it is about the position of your lighting relative to the position of your camera, making sure to adjust for that. And there, when it comes to shine on plates and things like that, like when I'm shooting in a restaurant, there's inevitably, they've got shiny plates, right? They don't have matte plates. And so sometimes it's just strategically moving the food around, like shimmying the dish around so that wherever that shine is, that there's a piece of food laying there. And so you eliminate the shine. There's a lot of little tricks. So that video coming soon. Why Not wants to know, how do you plan your pictures? Do you start with a recipe and shopping according to a plan, or is it more spontaneous? So Why Not, that is a great question. A lot of the images you'll see in my Instagram are just various ingredients, because those are easy to shoot. That is all super spontaneous. I did a chocolate bar. Well, no, even the picture I posted this morning, which was some chocolate cake. I had been doing a shoot for Skinny Cow, and I had some leftover ingredients, and I'd been shooting everything on a seamless pink background and a teal background. And I thought, oh, well, now that we've got everything set up, I'm just going to shoot some of these, pieces of cake that are sitting here. And so then I just had some fun screwing around with the cake, and that turned into an Instagram picture. But when it comes to doing photos for a client or doing photos for my blog or, more involved recipes, that is always pre-planned. Like it starts out usually with a recipe or a concept. So like when I'm working with a brand, for example, and they say, okay, we really want a picture of jambalaya. And I say, okay, great. We're going to talk about jambalaya. So now what do we want the look and feel of this to be? Do we want this to be a dark and moody photo? Do we want this to be hip and edgy and bright and poppy? Or do we want this to be light and ethereal? Like what's the vibe they're going for, right? So that's instantly going to then start to jog your mind. Okay, if we're going for light and ethereal, then I need some, marble tabletops or light colored wood, and I'm going to want a white background, and I'm going to want these lighter colored props and things like that. And so that starts to all can come into play, and then you start thinking about the ingredients. And so usually, again, when I'm shooting for a client, I will do a run through of the recipe, especially if it's not my recipe, because that's a lot of the times what's happening is I'm getting a recipe from a client that's their recipe. Not all of them are fully tested. So it is a good idea, just so that I understand how the food's going to behave, to do a trial run of that dish. And then I know how that's going to work. And then from there, sometimes I'll use that as the stand in to then craft the scene. And so I've got some sort of, say we're shooting on this plate, then maybe I'll have a stand in of the actual dish, or I'll just throw some stuff on the plate that's going to be the general shape of what I'm shooting, put that in the scene, kind of play with the props, really get everything figured out and set. And then from there, once I'm ready, then I cook up the final food, put it in the shot, and take the picture. Especially if it's something that's time sensitive, like ice cream or anything with cheese on it, you want to be able to shoot that right as it's finished. Whereas there's other things that are much more forgiving, that, baked goods, they can sit there for a bit and they'll be totally fine if you want to rearrange the scene. So it does depend on the situation, but certainly anytime I'm shooting for a client or for something that is more involved, there's a lot of pre-planning that goes into it. Let's see. What else did we miss? All right, let's zoom down here. All right. Compositing with the color in a photo, is it feeling or is it science? Well, certainly I don't do a lot of compositing, to be quite honest. It's just not something that I personally got into. It is an area that I'm definitely looking forward to exploring. That's the magic and beauty of photography, right? There's always something to learn. There's always something to explore. It's not something I do a whole lot of, but definitely when it comes to editing, for me, I'm so all about the feeling. Now, I do mind my histogram. If any of you haven't experienced the histogram and what that does, there's some great videos. Well, I don't know if When Will I Learn has one, but certainly I do know Flern has a great one. Some of the other channels that are out on YouTube, if you don't know about your histogram, learn about your histogram. That's definitely a part of the science of deciding exposure and colors and things like that. But for me, it's a lot of feeling. That's the artist side in me, is kind of what's the mood, what am I going for? It does help to make sure that you have a fully calibrated screen, which is another video. I want to make so many videos, you guys, like videos all day long, and I just don't have enough hours in the day. But fortunately, YouTube is full of great videos. So that being said, it's definitely more of a feeling for me, but there are some helpful technical things that can make sure that you're really nailing it from a technical aspect. All right. All right. So comment, I don't own a camera at all because it's intimidating, but I've helped you with food photos on your phone. That's awesome. Yes. So much of food photography is just paying attention. It's amazing, right? So no matter what you're shooting with, and don't feel intimidated, but you can totally do this. I am not a genius by any stretch of the imagination. And I know a lot of photographers who are not geniuses and they do quite well. So, but definitely the best camera you've got is the one you have. And so the phone is a great place to start. And I'm glad that you feel encouraged. And yeah, it's just all about being mindful, right? It's about paying attention to your surroundings. It's paying attention to the scene. What's going on? How is the light interacting with that food? How is that impacting the colors? It's a lot of fun, right? All right. So Sugar Mama Desserts wants to know, have you done a video about ice cream shooting yet? No, but it is like literally on the list. I have got a list of videos that's 30 videos long, you guys, like for real, talk about problems. It's a good problem to have. But that one I definitely want to do sooner than later in order to hit the summer months, because everybody and their pet iguana is going to be shooting popsicles and they're going to be shooting ice cream. And so I shoot with real ice cream. I know there are people, and actually, I don't know if Kim is in here. Kim might be on the live stream. If you are, shout it out. She's apparently got a really cool recipe for fake ice cream. I have not personally ventured into the world of fake ice cream, but if you ever want to, apparently it's a lot of fun. But my video will be how to shoot with real ice cream. But then there are some little things that you can know about how to manipulate that real ice cream and make sure that it looks pristine. All right. Let's see. All right. So, okay. I'm reading. I can't read and talk at the same time. If I could read and talk at the same time, then that'd be good. Yeah, Flern is amazing. I agree. I learned so much from him. Oh my gosh. Talk about, I'd have a fangirl moment if I ever met him. Let's see. All right. I think we're doing good. I think we're getting through them. Anybody speak Portuguese? I do not speak Portuguese. Posso parlare un po' di italiano, and that's about it. 2 years of Italian in college. All right, Poland in the house. All right, I think we're doing good. Oh, let's see. Oh, Snap Vegan. Oh, I think somebody answered your question. What is the Tasty Style video? That's the overhand, speedy hands that make everybody nauseous because it's all moving super fast. Woo! Do you know any online courses that make me a professional photographer in food photography? Mohammed, yes, definitely. There's some great courses on creativelive.com. I love Creative Live. I've taken some of the ones from Andrew Scrivani. He's amazing. And Steve had some really helpful courses there. I think she's got 2 courses. She's got one that is all about using Lightroom. Lindsay's a magician. It's Lightroom magic. So she's really, really great at that. And then she also has one that's newer that just came out in February, all about composition, which I personally want to take because I think it would be amazing. And then also another guy, trying to remember the name of his channel. He's here on YouTube. You guys, if you're here on YouTube, you guys have seen his videos. We Eat Together. He's got a great online course as well. Definitely worth checking out. What's your favorite opening business pitch line you have used? So working with brands well, I guess pitching anybody, anything, right? When it comes to sending pitch emails, I just keep it short and sweet because the people that I'm pitching, PR people, marketing people, they have got so much going on. They have anybody in general has so much going on. So opening line, it's usually just a quick introduction to who I am and why I'm emailing them. I don't want to throw a bunch of fluff in there. Like, hi, how's your day? How's it going? I am working on some email templates for you guys that I want to make available that you could use whenever, like a specific one that I use for pitching restaurants, or if I ever get an inquiry, what's that email template that I use for that? But a lot of times whenever I start a relationship with a brand, I'm usually starting out by finding out how I can better serve them, because that's going to set you apart. That's going to make you unique. It's not just about what you can get out of them, but it's really about what you can give to them. So in situations where, maybe there's a brand that I want to work with, say, hey, I absolutely love your products. I came across them at blah, blah, blah. Any chance, that you'd have an interest in sending me product, I'd love to, give you some sample images in case you're ever in the market for photography. I've mentioned that in live stream videos before. That's a big way that I get gigs, is by doing something for them first, by giving them proof of concept, by showing that I understand their brand, I understand who they are, giving some sample images. And then in the case where then they do need photography, then they've got a compelling reason to go with me, because I've proven that yes, I do, understand who they are and have shown generosity. And so it's like, they got a little something to owe me back, right? So that's always a really good thing to do. Now, you can't go in expecting that if you take shots for them, that then they're going to hire you right away. That's certainly not the case. I mean, there have been situations where I'll reach out to a brand and say, hi, I love this product. It's wonderful. If you want to send me product here to my studio, I'd be happy to do some sample shots for you. And then they send me something, I send some sample shots back, and then I hear literally and I'll email it to them and say, here's this information. If you want to talk more, let me know. And then I'll literally hear crickets for 9-10 months, nothing. And you go, oh, well, okay. there's another one, but then suddenly sometimes they'll come out of the woodwork. So you do that often enough and you do enough of that. And it's not a bad thing to be exercising your creative abilities every day, right? Exposing yourself to the opportunity to grow and to learn and to take new shots. I mean, I am in the studio literally taking pictures of something every day. I went on vacation over Christmas time to go visit some family back east, and still I brought my camera with me. But outside of that, so. All right. Oh, Garima, I'm so glad that you like the dark, moody food photography. That's awesome. Oh, Dennis the Press. Yep, TJ, you're right there with me. Get that camera out, even if you don't feel inspired, even if you don't feel like it, it's like working out, right? Not that I work out, but if I did, you do it even when you don't want to do it, because then that's how you feel. That's how you feel better. So, all right. Let's see. That's how you improve. All right. Well, I think we've done pretty good. How long have we gone? We've gone about 35 minutes. Any other questions? Peter Parker's Aunt May. I look like Peter Parker's Aunt May. I get a lot of comments about people that I look like. I've gotten a lot of people who say I look like the domestic geek, that I am the dark-haired doppelganger of the domestic geek. I also have gotten a number of times people that say I sound like Ellen DeGeneres, which I was at the hair salon the other day, and I was like, okay. To my hairstylist, I said, do I sound like Ellen DeGeneres? And she's like, I don't know. So we turned on like an audio clip from YouTube of Ellen, and sure enough, apparently I do. So yeah, so there you go. Aunt May. I'm going to have to go check out Aunt May. See if we're twinsies up in here. All right. Let's see. Anything else, you guys? I think I'm just looking through all the comments. Let's see if I missed anything else. Pitching brands, we talked about it. I've got a new video coming this week. It's going to be Friday this week, though. And this is a very special, near and dear video to my heart. So hopefully it will be helpful. It's more of a video about inspiring your creative side. And so hopefully you guys will find that helpful. But then I promise right after that, the very next video will all be about tethering. And we're going to get into more nitty gritty tutorial stuff because I just get so excited to share stuff with you guys and get you all excited and motivated and learning new things. I mean, I'm learning new things all the time too. All right. Which 50 millimeter would you recommend for food photography? So as far as 50 millimeter lenses, the Nifty 50, as they call it, is the f1.8. It is only 125 to 150 bucks, depending on where you go and who you talk to, but it is an inexpensive lens. And when it comes to food photography, and this is personally my style, I very, very rarely ever go below 1.8. You know, somebody's like, oh, well, why don't you go to the 1.4 or the 1.2? I don't ever go into those lower apertures because when it comes to food photography, if you go that low, sometimes it's such a narrow depth of field that you're losing the food. So for me, and again, this is stylistic, I live more in the 3 to 4 to 5 range. I share all of my settings on my Instagram account. So if you ever check those out, you'll see my aperture is usually in that neck of the woods, because I do feel like, though, when you go into, you know, the 1 point whatevers, you're going to start to lose, you know, the bigger picture of the food. And the point is the food. So you want to be able to capture the dish. So it's, you know, but some of that's super stylistic. If you are the king or queen of super narrow depth of field and you want to shoot wide open, then, you know, you can definitely go there. Martin wants to know, do you ever make any DIY props besides the boards? I don't, because I get such great deals at when I go to Goodwill or to the thrift store, as per the example I showed you at the beginning. This was a hot mess when I bought it, but it was only 10 bucks and it's great. So it has suggestions. I would absolutely love to hear that. All right. So the question is, can I take food photos in a light box? So I'm assuming what you're talking about is those little white boxes that are white on all sides. And this has been a topic that has come up a lot in the Facebook group. If you guys aren't in the Facebook group, definitely feel free to join it. Facebook.com groups, The Bite Shot. That is where we all hang out online and share pictures and thoughts and inspiration. It's a very supportive, positive group. If you're going to be mean and, you know, tear people down, you get booted, but otherwise it's super positive and super encouraging. And so a lot of people, this has been like a recurring theme. Should we shoot with those boxes? And I generally say no, because you're so limited in terms of the space. Like if you want to, you really only got so many angles. You can't really do an overhead shot. You're kind of working the straight on shot or, you know, the 45, but then you're still very limited in how far you can go. Now, there are people who have posted pictures in the Facebook group that, you know, have successfully used those, but it's really more geared toward people who are doing product photography. So if you've got an Etsy shop or something like that, one of those boxes would be great. So there's actually a lot of folks who are in the soap making space that are also a part of our Facebook group, because it's still light photography. It's very similar. And they have success with those light boxes because, again, they're just going for everything on white, super simple, but it is limiting in terms of your creativity. Between Two Forks, you love the group. Do you ever get lowballed or ridiculous offers for photography services? Absolutely. That's the way it goes. I mean, the thing that I get a lot, and it is what it is. I mean, you know, this is the way the world works, right? Like people love to say, hey, can I, you know, in exchange for some exposure, can I send you some product to get some free photography? And no. I mean, now sometimes, like I've said, I'll reach out to brands and say, hey, send me your products. I'll send you some sample shots. But those are people that I have a pretty good idea that they have some sort of budget and that they might be interested in professional photography. And so they would pay for that. And so if there's somebody who just wants my work for free, I don't have time for that, but I'm also not going to be rude to them. Like, they ask, that's their perspective, and that's fine. And I just, say, hey, it's usually my thing is I'll say, hey, I'm happy to provide you my rates. And usually then I just don't hear from them. And there's definitely people who just don't understand the world of professional photography and the amount of work, especially food photography. There is so much work that goes into food photography, as you guys well know. I mean, it's not just like I show up and take a picture of a pork chop. Like, there's the going and grocery shopping for the pork chop, and there's the really thinking through and the ideas behind the pork chop, and then how I'm going to style it, and then doing a test run of the pork chop, and then doing the actual, there's so much time that goes into it. So there are some people who maybe are on the border and they have the budget, but they just don't understand how time intensive food photography can be. So I try to do some education with them by just, in my proposal, really walking through, here are the various services that you are getting as a portion of the proposal of what I'm providing you. But, if there's somebody who just doesn't get it and they're like, oh, I'm just going to take pictures on my cell phone. And I go, great, go take pictures on your cell phone. That's totally cool. But if you want professional photography, you got to pay for it. So, some will, some won't. Here on YouTube, I don't. I do certainly do a little bit of research when I get, from a concept standpoint, the concepts have all come from you guys. Like, the very, very first videos, or the first 5 videos I did, were actually because I was teaching a food photography workshop, and I wanted everybody to have a grasp of how to shoot in manual before they got to the workshop. And so that's why I created those videos. And then I thought, well, maybe there's more videos here. And slowly but surely people started saying, well, hey, can you do one on natural? Hey, can you do this? And now here we are. I've got, you guys and a list of 30 different videos now I need to make. So I figure if I am answering questions that a lot of people have, that's going to be a popular video. So a ton of people were asking about dark food photography. So I was like, make a video about dark food photography. And lo and behold, it's been a very popular video to watch. Now, as far as the actual titles, then once I've got the concept of the video, then I'll go in and research, okay, what other titles exist around this? What's doing well? And I'll kind of gear it from there. But the SEO work that I do is much more on my food blog. And so understanding, how those things work. Like this weekend, I had the best weekend ever on my blog because it was St. Patrick's Day. And I have a recipe for Instant Pot corned beef. And it is, if you Google Instant Pot corned beef, my recipe, it's in the first page and it comes up at about the 4th hit. So on St. Patrick's Day, when everybody and their pet iguana is making it corned beef, and because the popularity of the Instant Pot, I got a ton of traffic from that. And I geared my blog from an SEO perspective to be able to target people well, that Google would want to pick that up, because all of that was referral traffic from Google searches. So there is a lot when it comes to SEO. And most of what I have learned has been attending conferences, food blogger conferences, but a really great resource, a guy named #Jeff. #Jeff. If you just Google him, you'll find his, he's got a mastermind group. It's a Facebook group. And then he also has an e-course, and he's like great, no nonsense, keep it simple. Like, he's got some really great insights. So if you've got questions about SEO, I would definitely check him out, because a lot of the things that he has talked about, I have put into practice, and I have seen instant results on my food blog. So great question. All right. So how do you think what lens is good for food photography with the Sony a6000? You have a Sigma 19f 2.8, but I think it's not the best option. Yeah, I would say when it comes to focal lengths, those wider, that 19, that's going to be perhaps a little too wide. You're going to get a lot of distortion on the edges. It might work well for overhead, like if you're doing really big, sweeping shots of an overhead table. But otherwise, I actually have a Sony a6000. I did some shooting actually with it for a client this weekend. And I have a 55 millimeter f1.8 Zeiss lens. That is some good glass. I'm just going to tell you, it was an expensive lens, but one that I love. And so that 50 millimeter, that's always going to be my starting point. So whatever camera you have, whether that's crop sensor or full frame, I will typically always recommend 50 millimeter. Granted, how that behaves on different cameras will vary, but it's usually a really great starting place. And I really don't think you can go wrong with a 50 millimeter, 55 millimeter. All right, let's see. What camera do you recommend for beginners? Raymax Kitchen and Grill, whatever camera you can afford. That's what I always tell people, because it is so hard to be able to recommend a camera. It depends on your budget. That's a big part of it, but it's probably the number one question I get asked is, what camera do I buy? And so certainly, budget has a big impact on that. But here's what I will also tell you. If you get into photography, it won't be the last camera you buy. So I say, buy what makes sense at the moment, buy what you can afford. Don't overspend, especially if you're just starting out, like $300-400. That's probably, to me, I think that's where I started. I had the Nikon D3000 was where I started. And that was a great camera, got me started. But then that's when you learn, okay, well, here are then other things as you really get into photography. Then, I'd really love to have this feature, or, I really use my camera mostly for this. And so then that's when you're going to really start to understand. And then you'll understand cameras more, so you can make more of an informed decision when you do get to the point of wanting to buy one. Robert wants to know, do you ever have problems with fogging up lenses when taking pictures of hot meals? I do have that problem when I'm doing overhead shots for video. And so if you just have a fan going next to your setup, that'll solve that problem. You think, all right. Oh, when will I learn? Sean, we started on the same camera. That was a good little camera. It was a great camera until my toddler dropped it. And that was the end of that camera. And people were like, well, then why didn't you stay with Nikon? And I did love Nikon, but I only had kit lenses. I didn't invest in other lenses for that camera. And I was friends with a photographer who was really hot on mirrorless. And so then that's when I got the Sony a6000. So Flavio wants to know, flashes or constant light? Totally depends on the situation, Flavio. I love both. I love both for different reasons. I do love flash photography and off-camera flash using speed lights, strobes, things like that, because literally you can shoot anywhere and the ambient light doesn't matter, because the light that is coming out of those lights is more powerful than whatever ambient light you've got. So like in the space that I am, it's full of white walls. It's got a ton of windows. So even though I have blackout shades over them, in the afternoons, like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in here, when the sun starts to go down, because it's west facing, it gets really hazy in here. So shooting with off-camera flash with speed lights is really great, because it doesn't matter how hazy, how much light is bouncing off the walls in here, I can still get really nice crisp shots because that light from that speed light is overpowering it. But at the same time, I love continuous light because I can craft a scene and know exactly where the shadows are falling as I'm putting it all together. And so it just depends on the situation, depends on where you're shooting, your style of setting up and things like that. But definitely advantages to both. I will say, though, that you can get really quality flash for a lot less expensive. Like high quality LEDs are pretty pricey. Low, if you're seeing an LED light and it's not very expensive, it's probably a lower quality. And so what's going to happen is if you mix that with natural light, it's going to have a green tint to it. And so the blues and the truer colors from that, there's a gnat in here, that light from that natural light combined then with that LED light, you're going to get a lot of weird color issues and have some real challenges with white balance. So when it comes to LEDs, it is worth the extra price tag. So that's why then if you're just starting out and you're looking for something budget friendly, I would recommend then flash photography. All right. Salty, savory, sweet spices and tea says, I have a Canon 70D and it's a bit too much of a camera, but you fill it over your head, but you're taking pictures every day. That's exactly what you need to do. And I have that camera. I still shoot with that camera. I shot with that camera this weekend. I love that camera. It's where I started. And honestly, I use that camera because it's got an LCD flip out. So when I'm being lazy and I don't want to set up my tether, I can just boop, got the little flip out LCD, which is why when people want to upgrade to full frame and they say which camera to go with in the Canon world, I'll tell them the 6D because it has the flip out LCD. I mean, it's the stupidest thing, right? But it makes life a lot easier. You kind of miss it when you don't have it. All right. So as far as a lot of people, oh my gosh, I get so many emails, DMs, Facebook message requests, all sorts of stuff all day long with people asking for input on photos. And I so wish I could keep up with it. And I do I'll certainly, I respond to every single email I get, which gets a little intense and why I don't sleep so much these days. But unfortunately, I just can't keep up with the number of requests for constructive criticism. So that's why I started the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, definitely head over there. We are about 2,000 photographers, I think, over there now. Is that what it is? Anybody want to double check me on that? The right shot. That is a great place where you can definitely share your images, get input and constructive criticism from other photographers. I do have an ability that if you want to purchase time with me, I do have that available in my online shop. I'll do one-on-one consults with people. I've got actually a number of those set up for folks who are very serious about food photography and want to improve and want some really good like one-on-one time where I can coach you, go through your whole portfolio. So if that is you and that's something you want to do, I am super happy to do that. I'll review your whole portfolio, go through your whatever you want to do. It's undivided, complete attention. So that's if you want that. But otherwise, if you're just looking for general input and things like that, definitely go ahead to the Facebook group. I chime in over there plenty. I can't keep up with all the CC requests I get. I hope that's okay. All right. TJ Perez, you're shooting with an electronic shutter when mixing ambient and artificial light will create a banding of photos, so make sure to turn your mechanical shutter on for mirrorless cameras. There you go. Robin's keeping track. There are 2,040 members in the Bite Shop Facebook group, so quite a few photographers. So Why Not wants to know, have you ever done stock photography? So I don't do like what you typically think of as stock photography, where you're submitting just random images that you own the copyright to and posting them into a website and hoping that somebody buys them. I tried that for a hot second and got super duper like annoyed because I probably uploaded maybe 100 photos and then like 10 of them got purchased. And I was like, that was a crap ton of work tagging them and setting it all up and everything. And I'm getting paid like pennies on the dollar for photos. And I'm like, screw that. So, but I do stock photography occasionally. I have mentioned this in other live streams before. If you go to custom.shutterstock.com, previously flashstock.com, and hey May, what's up? So they are, Shutterstock, of course, is a stock photography company, but they have their custom arm. And so they work directly with clients to create content. They work with a lot of freelance photographers in order to create stock photography that is custom for brands. And so that is a great place to start if you are looking to get your feet wet and get started. And they don't just work with food photographers, although they're always looking for food photographers all over the world. They need landscape photographers, lifestyle any kind of photographer. So if you are kind of at that point that you want to start doing work, definitely go over there. You can apply. I would say pricing wise, and this is just my experience, they are not the highest paying, but they are the easiest humans on the planet to work with because they take all the relationship management portion of the photography world out of the equation, because that, to be honest, is a very complicated part of being a photographer, is working with clients and really understanding what they want and how they want it and all those details. And so they take that part of the equation out for you. So you're simply just shooting exactly what has been prescribed in a brief that they provide you. So that is a great place to get started for sure if you're looking to do some paid work. Will you be making recipe videography YouTube videos on how to set up for recipe videos? So the macro experiment, I am not currently planning on getting into the world of video in terms of tutorials. I might touch on it. Like I'll probably at some point do a video about how I actually shoot the videos that I do for YouTube. But outside of that, it is not by any means my area of expertise. I am not an expert in video. I know enough to be dangerous, and I know enough to get paid for it, and it is a part of my business, because I do think that today, as a photographer, that a lot of people will also, a lot of brands that I work with also want the video component. So if you can provide both, that is a value add, but it is not my strong suit. And I will always, every day, all day long, recommend you go over to the blogvillage.com. Trevor and Jennifer are amazing. Trevor does all the tutorials over there. It's it is a paid package as far as a course, but it is worth every penny and more. So if you want to do video and you want to learn everything about video, head on over there. What's shaking bacon, Steve? Ryan, little inside scoop. Ryan is currently, not right at this moment, but in general, working on a What's Shaking Bacon t-shirt. So in case anybody needs a t-shirt, we're going to have them. All right, let's see. We have gone nearly an hour. I'm just going to stick around 4 more minutes just so I can say I live streamed for an hour, but let's see what other questions we got. All right. You guys are the best, though, for real. You guys are just the absolute best. And it has been so much fun to connect with everybody here on YouTube from all over the world. It blows my mind. I just get so darn excited. Oh, Martin wants to know, when you go shopping, do you randomly buy food that looks nice just to get a photo? Absolutely, Martin. I will see something, go, oh, those look amazing. Like the beets that I did on the background video a couple weeks ago. I was actually, strangely enough, this might sound crazy, I was at Walmart and I looked at their produce and I'm like, dang, Walmart has got some good looking produce up in here. The beets just looked amazing. And so I bought them purely just to take a picture. Now we ate them afterward, but there are plenty of times that I will buy something just to take a picture of it. All right. Chris Doc wants to know, what are your thoughts on Micro Four Thirds mirrorless systems? Chris, I think they're great. I don't know a ton about them. I did a little bit of research actually on those recently. So you just do have to understand how they work from the standpoint of how they're cropping, because we talk about crop sensor cameras versus full frame in the world of DSLR. And so Micro Four Thirds then are further cropping the image. So as long as you have a strong understanding of how that's cropping your image, how that's impacting, if you're shooting at this focal length, what that image is actually going to look like. In terms of the technology, it's amazing what cameras can do today and how much power you can harness in a rather cost-effective format as well as a very small format. Because that's what was fun. I was doing a shoot this weekend. It was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. And it's not typically work that I do, but I was kind of up for it and in the mood, and they paid well. So I said, let's do it. For a local restaurant, and they have several locations, and they wanted candid images of dinner service. So in the kitchen, at the bar, servers running dishes, things like that. And so it was very different because none of it was staged, and everything I shoot is always staged. Other than my kids, but most everything is candid. Well, what's funny is when you're shooting people, the second you lug out like that big old Canon 5D Mark IV, people are like, uh-oh, somebody's got a camera. But when you've got one of those really great, Micro Four Thirds mirrorless systems, or you got, like, I've got my Sony a6000 little mirrorless camera, it's just smaller. It's a lot less intimidating. So people are much more apt to write it off and to be candid and be comfortable, because the second somebody sees a camera, they tense up, right? Like, do I look okay? Is my hair in place? Like, do I look fat right now? Right? Like all those things. And so there is definite advantage, especially if you're wanting to shoot people, that having a smaller camera, just in terms of the actual size of the camera, is a real advantage. And two, just if you're traveling, if you're on the go, whenever I'm at restaurants, not necessarily for a restaurant shoot, but if I'm just going out to, a media event or something where I want to capture images on the go, guaranteed I'm bringing the Sony with me, just because it's nice and small and compact and it fits in my purse. It's a lot easier to go. Let's see. So how did your photo career get started? That is a great question. And, it was not intentional. It certainly kind of snowballed over time. I've had cameras for years. I've got a background, my undergraduate degrees in art. And so I have an eye for art. My mom's an artist. She's a calligrapher as well as a painter. And so it's kind of in my blood. It's who I am. But as far as like legit getting serious about it, I got hired for my first gig because I had taken photos for my blog and the restaurant wanted more photos. So that sort of started it, but it took me a long time to be able to actually say that I'm a photographer. Like I had this whole insecurity, and we all have it. I mean, I still have insecurity about it, but being able to really say, no, I'm a photographer. And that has only come, and maybe the last 2 or 3 years when I got super serious about it. I would say the big change was when I moved over to shooting in manual. A long time I was like, yeah, I just good enough, and I'm not going to ever make a career out of this. But when all of a sudden I started seeing I was making real money and, some changes in my life were going on and I really committed full time to it, then that's when it got serious. So I would say, the career started when I first got hired. And I thought, oh, I'm good enough for people to pay me money for this. And then it was just a relentless pursuit from there to get better, to improve, and then officially making the jump to doing it full time and replacing my previous income from my day job. That was exciting. So all things that I'm actually going to be talking about in Thursday's video or Friday's video. This week's video comes Friday. Stay tuned for it. All right, let's see. Palm Beach Gardens. Richard, where's Palm Beach Gardens? I don't know where that is. David wants to know, do I paint? I do paint. Not right now. I'm way too busy making YouTube videos, unfortunately. But I do love painting. And I've actually got a master's degree also in counseling. And so I also really get into art therapy. I took a number of art therapy classes back in the day. And I think there is so much power in the creative medium, being able to express yourself without words. And I think that photography definitely is also that for me. So both the painting as well as just creating images that express an inward feeling. That's the power of art, right? Stuart wants to know, how do your clients, restaurants initially find out about you for future projects? Curious as to know which type of marketing are effective for paid food shoots. So a lot, Stuart, and this is my approach for restaurant clients, is that I know pretty much every PR person that is in Phoenix, Arizona, who handles restaurants. And is networking. So definitely at the beginning, it was, those first gigs and then sending that information out. But it's really just about knowing the right people who would be hiring you, and to make sure, whether that's just sending some sort of, like, I think it's a really great idea. And something I have done as well is having sort of an email with a portfolio snapshot that I can just real quick send to them. Hey, not sure if you're in the market currently for food photos, but if you are, here's a link to my portfolio. I'd be happy to discuss more details about your photo needs in the future. And so just kind of sending that information out. Or if you do get to a restaurant at a certain point in time and, you take some shots because you're just dining there or whatever, and make sure you've got good light. But if you take photos, then be sure to share those with the restaurant as well, just to demonstrate your abilities. But then once you've done enough of that, and then you get referred, and a lot of this is specific to Phoenix. Phoenix is it's the 6th largest city in the US, if you didn't know that, but it is a very small town feel at the same time. So it's an everybody knows everybody. And that's going to be the case a lot in the restaurant world, which I think is a real advantage if you want to do that kind of work. Other successful food photographers who are also my friends, who a lot of times when I am overbooked and I can't keep up with the number of shoots coming my way, because I'm also a mom and I have a life, and I can't do it all. So I have also been known to refer out to my other friends who live here who are food photographers, or if it's just a shoot that's not really my style or something I'm not, really interested in taking on, I've got other photographers that I know. So it's also really good to network with the other food photographers that are in your town. And I know people think, oh, that's your competition. But for me, it's nothing but a bonus, because if I can refer out to them in situations where I can't or don't want to take the work, then they might do exactly the same in those situations. And so it's all about making connections. It really, really is. So go out and make some friends, and it'll really help you out. Jody Lynn wants to know, what do you charge for shoots? You're struggling. What to know? Charge foods for bloggers. Jody, know what to charge for foods for bloggers. Trying to understand that. It is Arizona. You're right. It's Arizona for sure. So Jody, as far as pricing, every single shoot is different. And that is for so many different reasons. I am working on currently a handbook that is like a pricing module sort of thing. You can definitely check out though, if you haven't already, download my ebook. A free ebook. It's free. And it's got some sample rates that I use for charging restaurants. And that's like baseline charges. That's not once you start tacking on everything. But as far as, if there's styling involved, if there's travel involved, if there's unique lighting, there are so many like ifs, ands, and so for me, I am usually charging, understanding how much time is it going to take me to do all of this work, understanding what is the overhead for my business, because you look at photography rates and you say, oh my gosh, that photographer is charging $200 an hour. Like, really? But the thing is, you can't compare a photographer to like a day laborer, because there's different overhead, there's equipment, there's technology. It's, you've got your own business going on. And additionally, you're not getting hired every day. So understanding what is it you need to make in order to be a professional photographer and to be able to pay your bills. So there's a lot of math that goes into that, but definitely too, you're charging for the actual labor, the skill, the ability, things like that. But then you're also charging for the licensing. And this is something that people don't always think about, is that if you are taking photos for somebody, those images belong to you, the photographer. Those images, the second you hit that shutter button and that captures that image is yours and you own the full copyright. Now, if somebody is wanting to purchase the rights, a limited usage of those images, then that's when they're paying for the licensing of those images. If they want full copyright, which I very, very rarely ever give over full copyright. I don't even think I've ever done that. I'm sitting here trying to think. Nope. I've never given over full copyright. And so, but if you ever were to, that'd be freaking expensive, because that's the deal, right? To assign somebody else the ability then to resell those images and to have full exclusive rights to those images. So they're paying for those things as well. There are some really great resources too. I'll be sure to link them. I can look them up after this live stream, and I'll be sure to link them in the comments section below, the description box below, if you will. Some pricing guides as well. But yeah, it all, unfortunately, long story short, it all sort of depends. Do you charge? Let's see. All right, let's see. And Jody Lynn wants to know, how do you deliver images? I personally deliver images with Zenfolio. That has been easiest for me. I started with Dropbox, but then it got to be a hot mess real fast, just from the standpoint of my hard drive, from the standpoint of people losing links, from the standpoint at Hot Mess Express. So I do everything via Zenfolio.com. Zenfolio.com. They're not a partner or anything like that, but they are great. They're I can't remember their pricing, but I do remember that it is pretty fair pricing. And then what happens is you can upload the images there and they live forever there. But what's great is that your clients can't monkey around with them. Literally all they can do is download them. So that simplifies things for sure. Jody Lynn, if you go into my ebook, you'll see the details as far as the contract that I use. I have purchased it from a third party, thecontractshop.com. It's all linked in the ebook. So definitely, Jody Lynn, go download that ebook. It's got all the details there. And that is a fantastic contract. I use it for every gig I do. I change it, I manipulate it, but it is linked in that within that ebook. So go check that out for sure. All right. And Richard wants to know, do you plan to make a food photography book? Like a coffee table book of my food photos? That'd be fun. I definitely want to do, though, some helpful books, some helpful courses. So lots more coming soon for sure. There's also more workshops coming soon. So if you're not currently on my email list, you can get that. If you've downloaded the ebook, you're on the email list. If you haven't, just go ahead and download that little link there. It'll put you on my email list. So you'll be updated about any new videos, any new workshops, any new books, any new ebooks, any new courses, anything I do, I update it there. I don't spam you though. I try to only email people once a week. That's like my thing. So, anyways, Matt Wonderwall, a recipe book. That could be fun. That could be a lot of fun. All right. Well, I think I have, oh my gosh, an hour and 10 minutes. I have yammered on, and now I got to go pick up kids from school and do all that. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If there are any details that you missed, anything else you want, feel free to leave me a comment after I post this, email, whatever. You know how to find me. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope you have a fantastic day. Sean, I'm glad you were here. Thanks for helping in the comments. You guys take care of yourself. You stay out of trouble. I'll see you soon. All right. Au revoir. Adios, amigos.